I love card games, so much so that I'm playing more than 5 trading card games in 2023 alone. Today, we're going to talk about 5 of those. In fact, my top 5 trading card games of 2023 that I am currently playing. Now, this is kind of a different video than what I normally do here. Basically, I'm going to name a card game and we're going to go into a top-down view and I'm going to show you one of my decks from that card game and do a quick little summary of why I'm playing the game and why I think it is worth your attention and maybe worth picking up as well. We're gonna try to keep this quick. We're gonna look at the time down below and see how successful I was. And we're gonna also have a couple honorable mentions at the end of the video because basically what I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of card games to play this year and there are a lot of really good ones. So if I do not mention any of the card games that you are currently interested in today's video, like I said, wait till the end to see my honorable mentions as well. Hey, you know what? Maybe comment down below and tell me why I should check them out. Like I said, I love card games and I am more than willing to check any great ones out. So without further ado, let's get on with the first card game here. I want to do the most obvious one. If you're already a fan of the channel, then you know how much I love Flesh and Blood. And if you're not a fan of the channel, then hey, maybe this is a good opportunity to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, anyway, let's get on with Flesh and Blood and talk about why it is one of my favorite games. So Flesh and Blood is a game that I've been playing since almost its very first set. It was a absolute breath of fresh air for me. This here is my almost entirely foil Uzuri Assassin deck. You know, I'm into the game so much so that I have artist proof sketches. Absolutely beautiful work here, and here's the deck proper. This deck functions very similar to almost like a mid-range style strategy. It leverages Uzuri's hero ability to be very tricky, to swap things up and to get through these very powerful on-hit effects that kind of forces our opponent to discard. Flesh and Blood, if you don't know, is a game where you are basically a hero and you fight against another opposing hero, very much like a fighting game, like a Soul Calibur type thing. The cards represent your attacks and your abilities as well as your defensive capabilities. There is a pretty vibrant world with lore and stories and all of that great stuff. Flesh and Blood, in my opinion, has some of the best art on the market currently if you like the fantasy vibe. And they have an incredibly robust, competitive, organized play scene. But don't let that fool you. I do believe Flesh and Blood is a game that you can play casually, and it is a ton of fun in doing so with formats like Ultimate Pit Fight, which is their multiplayer format, as well as formats like Commoner, which you just play with common cards, and the decks are exceedingly cheap. Very fun, very unique system. Love Flesh and Blood. All right, back to me and on to number 2 for the list today with my favorite new card game of 2023, Shadowverse Evolve. This game is so much fun, just an incredible, it is like what I want in trading card games distilled down to, like, I don't want to call it a basic level, but just a really digestible, fast, and fun experience. So let's talk about Shadowverse Evolve. All right, I'm really stoked to talk about Shadowverse Evolve. Like I mentioned, this is my favorite new card game of 2023, and for good reason. It is just so much fun to play. The decks are pretty affordable, like the top tier decks run you from about $100 to a couple $100, depending on what deck you are wanting to play. This deck in particular is my aggro swordcraft deck. This is what I would consider to be an S tier deck. I have a full deck tech video going over this, but absolutely love this deck. It's just, aggro with a bunch of units that also kill your opponent's stuff, backed up by other cards like the Gemstaff Commander here, which can search your deck for the perfect cards for whatever the situation that you may be in. Also, and I'm not sure if it needs to be said, but Shadowverse Evolve has some of the best anime style art currently on the market. It is incredible. We have our main deck, we have our Evolve deck, and this is something that Shadowverse Evolve does that other card games don't really do. You have a secondary deck that you can use to evolve the units in your main deck and gain, like, advantage, right? I don't want to say, like, exactly what kind of advantage. Maybe it's card advantage, maybe it's tempo advantage, but it's just a great mechanic to just play a unit, evolve it, and then just get the effect. Like the Shadowed Assassin here you know, it's an assassin. It's good at killing your opponent's stuff, and this is one of the units that you can evolve. And then, of course, this deck runs a lot of tokens. So if you like the token swarm type strategy, well, you can do that with this as well. They have a companion app that goes with the game that just makes things so much more smooth. I have a bunch of videos out already talking about Shadowverse Evolve. Highly recommended giving it a shot if it looks like it is up your alley. And for number 3, we have an old classic. In fact, the very first trading card game I ever played, and the very first trading card game just at all, we have Magic: The Gathering. Now, Magic for me personally, and I know for a lot of folks out there, has changed quite a bit over the last few years. And for me, it is something completely different than what it used to be, but still something I enjoy. So let's talk about it. And here we come to Magic: The Gathering. Now, this is my Meren of Clan Nel Toth Commander deck. It doesn't really function like a normal Meren deck. It's more a Merit Lodge deck, where the goal is to get Merit Lodge out and then cast either, let's see if I can find it here. We're going to try to cast either Berserk or Triumph of the Hordes and one-shot one of our opponents. It's a really, really fun deck. And honestly, this is how I play Magic these days, right? Not in any competitive sense, though I do like some nice cards. I'm using some old cards here. No, what Magic is to me is so much different than what it used to be. I used to be a competitive player. I played in the old Super Series. Magic was a huge, huge part of my life, but now it's really just fun Commander games. And this is one of my favorite decks. I have, I don't know, like 13 Commander decks, and I just like to put stuff that I like in the deck and to do fun and powerful things, right? And, Magic's a game that has such a wide card pool that you can just put cards in that you like because of the art or because of the effect or whatever. Magic is a game that you can really do whatever you want with it because it is so large and so vast. I can play with my, Richard Garfield versus Finkel Necropotence here in this deck, along with my Japanese Triskelion. And that is what Magic is to me. Magic is basically a legacy of trading card games in the purest sense, right? You can play with the history of trading card games in a single deck, and it's also one of the most popular games, meaning that it's really, really easy to find other folks who play Magic, especially if you play a format like Commander. I do want to get into other formats like Canadian Highlander, but as someone who's been playing Magic since 1995, this is just kind of like an old staple that I have around, and whenever I go over to friends' houses, I can be like, yeah, I'll bring some Commander decks. On to number 4, and here we have one of the most successful Kickstarter trading card games with Grand Archive. It is a new anime-style trading card game that uses a lot of Western design philosophy with it. You don't have the crazy high numbers like Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's just really, really easy to understand and great to play. So let's talk about Grand Archive. Grand Archive is a really, really interesting game because, as I mentioned, it melds a lot of mechanics that you would be very familiar with from games such as, Magic: The Gathering or even other games that use units, right? But it has a fairly unique resource system in that you can put any card face down as a resource and then you get those cards back at the beginning of your next turn. Your allies don't have summoning sickness or anything, so you can attack with them immediately. Also, I have a collaboration card in the first set, so there's a little bit of a conflict of interest here, but there's a reason I have a collaboration card, and that is because I genuinely really like this game. I believe in it, and I think it is fantastic. If you like this anime style, if you like card games similar to Magic, but not Magic, then I think Grand Archive could be a card game for you. As more sets come out, and they're currently on their second set, the game becomes more and more affordable to play. So this definitely, like I said, is a game that you could try out. This is also a game that uses a side deck system. So you have your main deck, and then you also have your material deck. And this is where you call in your champion, right? So you start out as a spirit, fire, water, or wind, and then you can level up to champions, right? So this one is a fire assassin deck where I can become Xander and then level up into Tristan here. And then you have a whole suite of weapons and, trinkets that you can use to aid in your combat. And here we have my little sideboard here. But yeah, Grand Archive is a game that is aiming to be a competitive trading card game with a competitive circuit, and I think it is so much fun. Definitely worth checking out if you're into the anime style and into games similar to Magic the Gathering. And the last game on this list is the one that I honestly have the least amount of experience in because I just recently picked it up, and that is Alpha Clash, an indie superhero trading card game that the company just has this really, really good mindset about it, some really, really good philosophies, and I don't know about you, but I really dig this superhero indie vibe, right? We see all of the Marvel and the DC stuff, but me personally, I'm like, hey, give me something fresh, give me something new, and I really dig this kind of like, you know, indie vibe. So let's check out Alpha Clash. And now we're down to Alpha Clash. This game is so interesting. This is a game where you play as a superhero, right? A contender. Here I just have two alternate versions of the same contender. This is my Clarity deck. This deck in particular is more or less a like mid-range strategy deck. I have a lot of cards that give me card advantage, like Haven here lets me draw cards, or cards that are mid-range threats like Lyn, which is a 5/5 with flight. And there you have the similarities with other card games like Magic the Gathering. So once again, this is a game that is similar to Magic the Gathering, but not quite. This is a game where, once again, you can play any card as a resource, but it also has mechanics like Yu-Gi-Oh! There are traps, right? And there are, you know, cards you can only activate during certain steps of the turn. And yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, right? And it has like this cool superhero vibe. This is one of the more powerful cards. This is just a great mid-range card that kills a dude whenever you play it. You also have really powerful cards in this deck like Grant Park Chicago, which lets you go search for a card when you play it. And yeah, basically what I have to say about Alpha Clash is, one, it's a fun indie card game, and if you like these vibes, right? If you like these kind of like superhero style vibes and you don't want to do like a Marvel or a DC thing, if you want to do like an indie superhero card game, I think Alpha Clash is definitely worth checking out. It has a completely unique setting that I feel is, you know, really untapped in the TCG space. So yeah, this is Alpha Clash. Have more videos about this on the channel if you would like to check them out. And those are my top 5 TCGs that I'm currently playing in 2023. I think each of them has a ton of merit depending on your personal tastes. In regards to aesthetics or gameplay, I highly recommend checking each of those games out. I have a myriad of videos for all of them, except for maybe Alpha Clash, here already on the channel. So if you want to see gameplay or anything else like that, definitely check them out. Let's get on with our honorable mentions, and then you can let me know in the comments down below what games that I missed and what games that you are currently playing. So the first one I want to mention is a game that I have not played at all. It's just on my radar, and I know that a lot of people that I respect say it's really good, and that is the One Piece trading card game. I honestly don't really like how they use some of the anime screenshot artwork, but I do think that some of their special, special rarity cards look really, really cool. So One Piece is a card game that is on my radar that I do want to check out, and I've heard great things about. The other ones are, well, let me grab this one here. This one's a little interesting. It's a game that I do cover here on the channel, and that is Sorcery. Now, Sorcery didn't make it into my top 5 because it's a little bit different than the other card games. It is more like a collectible board game, to be completely honest. I think it's great. The art is absolutely fantastic, especially if you like those, you know, old school D&D Magic the Gathering vibes. Yo, it's got it in droves. It's also just really fun. It's really casual. This is something I'm going to be talking about more on the channel. I already have a wide swath of videos covering Sorcery, but yes, honorable mention for Sorcery. And finally, we have Pokemon. This is something that I don't really talk about on the channel because honestly, I just have this one Pokemon deck. This is a Gym Leader Challenge deck, which is like a singleton deck that, you know, you center around one type of Pokemon. So this is my Ghost deck. I have, you know, done some work to make it very fancy looking with all these nice shiny cards and all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting format, but hey, does anyone want to play Gym Leader Challenge with me? Some Pokemon? No? Maybe? I don't know. Please let me know what card games you are playing in 2023 in the comment section down below. Are you playing any of the ones that I listed as my favorites? Flesh and Blood, Shadowverse Evolve, Magic the Gathering, Grand Archive, and or Alpha Clash, or any other games. There are some other ones that I have, like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example. I actually have a couple Yu-Gi-Oh decks, but they're like, I don't know, like 20 years old. I have not updated them for a very long time, so I'm not entirely sure on the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh, but hey, I'm someone who is open to all card games. Like I said, I do really want to check out that One Piece trading card game, and there's also other stuff like Lorcana, even though it doesn't quite interest me personally. I know there's a lot of great stuff out there, so thank you so much for watching. Maybe like, maybe comment, maybe even subscribe. Make that number down there go bigger. Hey, we're gunning for 20K this year. Don't know if we'll hit it, but hey, we might with your support. If you'd like to join our Discord community and talk about all of these lovely games, you are free to do so. It's free. Down in the description as well as you know, other links, a partnership with Dragon Shield and all this kind of cool stuff, all down there. I'm done talking your off for today. Just, I love card games, and you know what, if you're watching this video, I hope you love card games too, or at least I hope I can help convince you to maybe try one that's a lot of fun. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.